Legends and heroes are usually just fiction. A name means nothing on the battlefield. Only one man is capable of what the great philosophers spoke of. That makes him extraordinary. In the face of absolute uncertainty and the impossible, he remains unshaken. Who is this man they speak of? His name is Solid Snake.
Snake! Not so young anymore, eh, Snake?
Is that you?
Nice to meet you, Snake. It's an honor to speak to a living legend like yourself.
Don't say you've forgotten me, Snake.
No doubt about it. He is the legendary soldier.
The man himself, who embodies the very philosophies so many struggle to practice. Stoicism, in all of its forms, is a lifestyle, a mindset, that transcends the ordinary collective. It is an ancient Greek philosophy that teaches self-mastery through reason. The idea that we can't control what happens to us, only how we respond. It emphasizes virtue, discipline, and accepting fate without complaint. There's often no guarantees, but we don't have to be prisoners, and we can decide what life we choose.
You mustn't allow yourself to be chained to fate, to be ruled by your genes. Humans can choose the type of life they want to live.
The goal isn't to suppress emotion, but to remain steady and rational in the face of chaos, and to live in accordance with nature and one's own moral principles, regardless of their circumstances. The core intention of Stoicism was practical ethical guidance for daily life. Not about abstract theorizing, but about teaching people to live virtuously, both with how they carry themselves and around in society. Stoics emphasize that true well-being comes from, ultimately, reason, moral integrity, and one's self-mastery of their own emotions. It's not about external wealth or status, or man-made ideologies that ultimately don't benefit mastering oneself.
Find something to believe in, and find it for yourself. And when you do, pass it on to the future.
Believe in what?
That's your problem.
Many beloved action hero titles in media present this very angle of philosophy, but one of those is Solid Snake, who I believe is a perfect stoic archetype that works brilliantly. In the context of Metal Gear Solid, we see his stoicism shine through many ways, and in that ultimately opens up a path we see throughout the series of Solid Snake being the very embodiment of what is to be a stoic.
I've lived only for myself. Survival has been the only thing I cared about in my life.
That's not just you. That's how everyone is.
I only felt truly alive when I was staring death in the face. I don't know. Maybe it's written into my genes.
What about now? What do your genes say about your future now?
One of the core pillars of this teaching is control what you can, accept what you can't.
Well, judging by how rapidly the aging has progressed, I'd say
A year at best, right?
yeah. Snake, let's try another doctor.
It won't make any difference. I'm not an ordinary man to begin with.
Snake, unlike most of us, didn't have a regular upbringing. He was designed to be nothing more than a weapon for the future, made for the purpose to suit others' agendas. Ultimately, his autonomy was limited to an extent. He was destined to face his father someday in battle, something that he had to accept, and only what was within his reach he could control.
One day, the age of Big Boss's sons will arrive. They'll likely want to settle the score with him. We have to shape that age. We'll each have roles to play, building the foundation for a revolution led by both Big Bosses, the True One and the Phantom.
Unlike his father, who struggled to truly find what he believed in until the very end of the series, because as we know, he went through stages of his life trying to find his calling. Solid Snake, as presented, seems to be the complete opposite, who isn't indecisive of who he is. His mindset remains stoic as far as he's presented. He didn't let external and outside forces and the uncontrollable drive him insane. Unlike his father, who became consumed by war in an endless battle, not just with others, but ultimately himself.
You've left everything behind. Your country, your identity, your past and ideals. But there's still one thing you haven't let go of.
What are you talking about?
The boss. You still haven't let her go. That's why you're so afraid to find out the truth about her. And that's what's holding you back from your future. Snake, she died a decade ago. How long can you live with a ghost?
You don't realize it, but the fake you is eating away at the real you. The person you're pretending to be is becoming the person you are. And the real you is screaming out from somewhere deep inside.
Even the tragic fate of both father and son, Solid Snake continues his mission, enduring the hardship and pain that comes with it, but focuses on the bigger picture at hand, dealing with a current threat. Ironically, as a mechanism of war, he hopes to stop its cogs from turning. He understands that war is a part of the human condition, which as Big Boss understands is a war without end, one that he gladly profits from. Snake knows wars don't just stop overnight, but he plays his part within them to help those caught in its grasp.
Unfortunately, killing is one of those things that gets easier the more you do it. In a war, all of mankind's worst emotions, worst traits come out. It's easy to forget what a sin is in the middle of a battlefield.
This notion is later expanded into the Shadow Moses incident where Snake's brother Liquid wishes to fight the world, that he feels is responsible for controlling his fate. This, unlike Snake, is something he couldn't accept, and rather than controlling what was in his power and accepting his cards, he had folded them without even allowing the trials of life to unfold to determine what potentially could be his outcome, and to respond accordingly with patient virtue. Instead, he abolished any stoic wisdom and became consumed by his anger and emotions, whilst complaining about his genetics. He blamed external forces that rightfully determined his path, but didn't ultimately decide his ending. Liquid became too consumed by his hatred and emotions for outside forces, rather than looking within to decide what he truly wishes for his outcome and his fate. Ultimately, whilst Liquid had no choice in his beginning, he didn't allow himself to control what he could accept and what he despised. That led him to self-destruct.
Twins linked by cursed genes. Les enfants terribles. You're fine. You got all the old man's dominant genes. I got the flawed recessive genes. Everything was done so that you would be the greatest of his children. The only reason I exist is so they could create you.
I was the favorite, huh?
That's right. I'm just the leftovers of what they used to make you. Can you understand what it's like to know that you're garbage since the day you were born?
Remaining stoic the entire time, Solid Snake is nothing but a pawn, a vector, once again showing that you can't always control what's out of your understanding, but you can only control what you can understand. Those around Snake along the way naturally gravitate towards him within the laws of attraction. Stoicism is an attractive function that ultimately inspires the stoic courage in others to fight for change despite their weaknesses. They look at Snake that empowers them within. They focus on their strengths to accomplish their goals.
I've found a reason to live.
Good. Don't die on me.
Same to you.
In MGS2 is where we see this strengthened dynamic and Solid Snake in all of his stoic glory. His character is further emerged as he becomes the unknown factor, fighting against the Patriots in his own way without leaving destruction. He's not arrogant and foolish to believe he can change the world, but his actions can inspire others to fight for a better tomorrow in any change possible with what you can control.
We need to remember to spread the word, to fight for change, and that's what keeps me alive. You think you can change the future? Nah, I'm not as arrogant as that.
In comparison to the second protagonist, Raiden, who kind of acts like a counterpart to our doubtful selves, as Solid Snake serving as our stronger selves, Raiden becomes like us in stages that feels like he has been deceived in every single turn. It's hard to possibly understand what's real and what isn't when information seems so freely giving, but not without any objective reality. As Raiden, we're being misled at every single turn, completely unaware that the entire mission is just under control from nothing more than an AI. Throughout the course of that mission, especially when GW gets destroyed, he naturally starts to break down for everyone to see. And for some, that is a great way to exploit their weaknesses in society, to use it for their own benefits to bully people, which is a sign of cowardice and weakness on their part. Raiden shows a lot of strength and potential, kind of acting as a counterpart, as I've explained, to the audience, who may be at part trying to find a version within themselves that is strong and reflects everything that they admire about the legendary Solid Snake they so often wish to be, embodying the stoic qualities that they are yet to learn, as the philosophy is often something that can be accomplished over time through mastering the arts. But unlike Snake, Raiden hasn't quite mastered the philosophy, at least at this point. Snake remains calm with purpose throughout MGS2, showcasing his undeniable fortitude.
I trust that you don't actually believe what that guy Pliskin told you, right?
I believe him. There's something about him, like an iron will, enough to trust.
In the very end of MGS2's narrative, Snake sounds and speaks like a philosopher, highlighting all of the stoic points mentioned in the latter.
Listen, don't obsess over words so much. Find the meaning behind the words, then decide. You can find your own name, and your own future.
And in MGS4, now old and full of wisdom, Snake is a part of a dying age, and one that he wishes to pass on to the next generation, for people to inherit all the good he's fought for over the series. You could call it his dying will, his final hour. In the future is nothing but cheap imitations of the past, as Metal Gear tells us, a digital dependency rather than something tangible, something you can feel. Something that can't just be inherited or digitally uploaded, is something that you have to hone over time.
The CQC soldiers use nowadays is a pale imitation. They're learning from reading about it. I learned through doing, and there's a world of difference.
Then you want to teach them the real thing. The way you learned from your big boss.
That's not it either. Some things aren't meant to be passed down to future generations.
Emotions and feelings are suppressed, and with it, free thinking, people now who instead operate under the will of a soulless system designed to suppress the individual will. Something that Solid Snake barely clings to with any willful energy he can muster. He remains stoic whilst everyone around him falls apart. Snake becomes the glue that makes the mission possible, and everyone around him, with whatever strength they can muster under Snake's philosophy, pushes him to the finish line even though he's hanging on by a thread, all through forms of bravery and courage, all inspired by Solid Snake himself, that passes on this essence of what I like to call spiritual stoicism, that possesses and encourages people to adopt this essence onto their own being and make what they will of it.
Snake, leave this to me. I'll go to the server room. The corridor's full of microwaves. One of us is enough. My body is a machine. I can take it. Your body may be a machine, but your heart is human. You've got a life to go back to.
Solid Snake doesn't let disaster get in the way of accomplishing his goals, even if it almost kills him. Within his limitations, he shapes an ideal future in doing his best, rather than worrying about what he can't control and what he can't obtain. Throughout Snake's tragic and epic career as a man who pulled off the impossible, he is often cited by many as a legend, a hero, and sometimes even a terrorist. Strong words that often simplify or misunderstand Snake's true objectives, that are for the more noble causes than heroic words designed for people to falsely idolize something. Things that are not to be praised. Moral integrity and courage matter more than comfort to Snake. Wealth and recognition doesn't mean a thing.
As we're real heroes.
There are no heroes in war. All the heroes I know are either dead or in prison, one or the other.
But Snake, you're a hero, aren't you?
I'm just a man who's good at what he does, killing. There's no winning or losing for a mercenary. The only winners in war are the people.
That's right, and you fight for the people.
Snake, you're a legend, and that's why I need to ask you this.
Legend. A legend is nothing but fiction. Someone tells it, someone else remembers, everybody passes it on.
You can say that because you're a legend, a hero. I'm Jack the Ripper, a dirty reminder of a terrible mistake.
Legends don't mean a whole lot. I was just a name to exploit, just like you.
People will remember only the good part, the right part of what you did.
There's no right part in murder, not ever. And we're not in this to make a name for ourselves.
Then what are you and Otacon fighting for?
A future.
To Snake, the whole world is at stake, and his story is tied to a dark legacy that has controlled the collective for many years. He isn't in it for fame and glory, but rather to reset the balance of the normal order of the world that has been shifted. He's born into a world of chaos, but doesn't let it change him. He feels like it's his duty to put to rest what he undecidedly started. Unlike his brothers who were out for their own selfish reasons, or people such as Ocelot who wish to keep Big Boss's dream alive,
They will know the fullness of life.
Or any other antagonist in the series out to destructively drive the world further into chaos. Whenever it's biologically speaking or using nuclear-equipped Metal Gears to drive the order of the world, all of which Snake feels obligated to stop, because it's a will that he isn't trying to push on others. In fact, it's respecting the will of others to let the world be.
It's not about changing the world. It's about doing our best to leave the world the way it is. It's about respecting the will of others and believing in your own.
Throughout all of this journey, Snake does his best to save as many lives as he can, caught in the crossfire. From POWs, civilians, hostages, love interests and friends. Not for praise, but for doing what was right, even if it's not benefiting him.
Otacon. Try to get as many hostages out as you can. It's a short flight to the shore, so don't worry about overloading the Kamov.
Unlike most of Snake's foes, he doesn't fly off the handle and remains calm in adversity, and doesn't let fear or anger dictate his actions. Like most of the bosses he faces, I mean, let's face it, a lot of them are pretty much unhinged. And I'd say because of that, really leaves them open for attack. Snake's composure and ability to think rationally allows him to overcome, using whatever he may have at his disposal to defeat anything threatening, rather than using lethal approaches unless absolutely necessary. Moments of extreme tension, like facing Metal Gears or complex political stakes that could drive the world into absolute chaos, doesn't make him lose sight of his stoicism and his journey. He doesn't cave under pressure. We don't often see what Snake does in his downtime, but I think his missions lay open a log to see that Snake often practices mindful reflection in everything that he does. He doesn't usually like getting involved in people's affairs or petty drama.
I've never been interested in anyone else's life.
So you are all alone, just like Mantis said.
Other people just complicate my life. I don't like to get involved.
Being alone, to some, means they're lonely, but it doesn't mean that for him. He thrives in solitude. If anything, isolation has conjured some of the greatest minds for the best inventions that have driven society in the future as we know. Sometimes being in the collective as a whole is just a distraction to mindless noise. It's fair to say that he thrives in solitude, and it reflects within his mastery of his skills in solo sneaking infiltration missions. Snake doesn't mind company at all, and even in bad company finds moments of peace or respite, either for himself or others who may have opposed to be against him.
Wolves are noble animals. They're not like dogs. In Yupik, the word for wolf is Keglanek, and the Aleuts revere them as honorable cousins. They call mercenaries like us dogs of war. It's true.
We're all for sale at some price or another. But you're different. Untamed. Solitary. You're no dog. You're a wolf.
Snake becomes a one-man army because of the building fundamentals of his philosophy that fortifies the mind, body, and soul. All of this whilst inspiring others to do the very same. In fact, working together is better than working alone, and if people work together in the right mindset with their own skills, can benefit each other greatly to create all kinds of wonderful things for the future. Whenever it's the friends he meets along the way, the ones he lost in fighting for a better future, or coming face to face with his own mortality, Snake never loses sight of his purpose. And even after a long-fought battle, the hard work of obtaining his ideal world, what seemed impossible can become possible by focusing on what is within our control and accepting what is not.
Am I going to die? Everyone dies. You can't stop it. You can't run away from it.
Key principles like living in accordance with reason and recognizing that our judgments of events, rather than the events themselves, cause our suffering. And sometimes the biggest enemy can be the voice within, preventing us from mastering true ascension. Solid Snake really is that guy.
Yes! You're the toughest, craziest, most hardcore badass on the planet! You're the shit!
Thank you all so much for watching. Leave me your comments down below. Once again, I'd love to hear your thoughts on Solid Snake and anything related to the Metal Gear universe. Don't forget to like, and if you're new, consider subscribing to the channel. Anyway guys, until we meet again.